All right, peace and blessings. This is another section from Schuyler Barbeau's Unconstitutional, A Patriot's Bulletin, Volume 1, Issue 2. And I can't read the whole thing, but if you want to read the whole thing, it's about 30 pages or so. You can go to yearofjubilee.com, go to Schuyler Barbeau's page, and down at the bottom, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see Volume 1, Issue 2. So I'm just going to read a portion of this particular section. It says, Court says Florida doctors can ask patients about guns. So you've got a news article in the New York Times that says Florida doctors can ask patients about guns. Here's what Schuyler had to say about it. The Florida law was the first in the country to try and restrict First Amendment rights of medical providers to discuss the safe storage of guns with patients, and the ruling will probably make it more difficult for other states to pass similar measures. The Republican-controlled Florida legislature, with the support of the state's Republican Governor Rick Scott, passed the restrictions in 2011, aimed primarily at pediatricians. Under the law, doctors could lose their license or risk large fines for asking patients or their families about gun ownership and gun habits. Pediatricians routinely ask parents about questions about safety in the home, including the safe storage of guns and precautions to prevent drownings in pools. The legislature grew concerned after it heard anecdotes about people who said they felt pressured to answer questions about gun ownership and harassment when they did not do so. One mother said she felt it was an invasion of privacy. The National Rifle Association viewed the medical community's gun-related questions as discriminatory and a form of harassment, a position that the state took in court when it argued the queries violated the right to bear arms. We the people have the right to be secure in our persons, papers, and effects, not just from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government, but also from any searches and seizures and inquiries by any other person when not in an official capacity. In other words, one citizen's right to free speech does not overrule another citizen's right to privacy. It became one in a series of gun rights laws that Florida, a state known for its stand-your-ground self-defense law, has passed over the past few years. But the appeals court decided Thursday that the law did not violate the Second Amendment. Instead, the court found that there was little evidence beyond a few anecdotes to demonstrate that this constituted harm. The first problem is that there is no evidence whatsoever before the Florida legislature that any doctors or medical professionals have taken away patients' firearms or otherwise infringed on patients' Second Amendment rights, the judges wrote. Free speech does not trump any other enumerated rights. Free speech ends at causing injury to another or infringing on another's exercise of rights. Infringe means to encroach upon. Encroach means to enter gradually or stealthily into the rights of others. Asking a patient about their guns is gradually infringing on their right to be secure in their keeping of firearms. For the doctors, the decision to allow them to ask patients or the parents of patients whether they are safely storing their guns goes to the heart of their ability to care for patients and protect them from harm, lawyers said. This decision is critical to the health and safety of Florida families, said Doug Howard Dramier of Ropes and Gray, the law firm that presented the plaintiffs in the case. It makes clear that the First Amendment does not allow the government to interfere with a doctor providing her best medical advice to her patient. So what? Are doctors government-backed nannies now, managing how people live? Now it's the doctor's job to protect people from themselves? How about a doctor's just provide the medical services patients expect and people protect themselves from harm? Let people be responsible adults like they already are. Accidents happen no matter what. People who are irresponsible already are not going to change because some doctors start intruding on their personal business. Florida, you might as well give your doctors protection and badge to go around to bars and clubs to make sure patrons are responsibly consuming alcohol, or give advice to patients on how to properly store alcohol for the children's sake. I don't think anybody wants doctors telling them how to drink or store their alcohol. Likewise, it is none of any doctor's business to be the nannies of the people. I see this as a small but insidious infringement of the rights of Florida's citizens, and I see this as a precedent for the rest of the states of the Union. I have written about this before. I think it is another form of gun control. In Washington last November, the citizens voted in a new law and allows law enforcement and close family and friends to go to a court and get a temporary order from the court to take away guns from someone they think could potentially harm themselves or the public. The reasoning for the law is so that the community can have a can have a the reasoning for the law is so the community can have a legal way of preventing shootings, and was pushed after a few shootings last year in the state. I wrote that it was a way for the government to empower the citizens to take guns away from each other instead of the government taking away people's guns, which would cause much resistance and outrage. I wrote that I see opportunity for abuse. Now I see Florida's government doing something similar, empowering the medical community, the citizens, to manage gun control, since there is so much resistance to government managing gun control. I don't know if there is anything currently, but I wouldn't be surprised if down the road laws are enacted to require medical personnel to report situations of unsatisfactory gun storage. Floridians, I recommend when these doctors exercise their free speech on you, you exercise your right to remain silent. You exercise your Fourth Amendment right to be secure and your Fifth Amendment right not be deprived of your property and liberty unless by due process of law. Always remember the golden rule: do to others as you would have them do to you. So doctors, exercise your right to speak without infringing on the rights of others and citizens. Be responsible for yourselves. Schuyler Barbeau. If you want to read Schuyler Barbeau's entire bulletin, it's on yearofjubilee.com. Schuyler, it's 30 pages, and I suggest you check it out.